Hey guys, Buckeye Bar guys. We wanted to thank you guys for tuning in to us here on Buckeye Bar Talk. Great show we got coming up today. We're really looking forward to you guys listening and watching it. But just wanted to remind everybody, just remember to subscribe to the channel, hit the all notifications bell, and that way, anytime a new show comes up, you guys will be alerted to it. And don't forget to like the video and comment on the video. All interactions with us helps us continue to grow, and we appreciate your support. Now to the show. Welcome back, everybody, to Buckeye Bar Guys here on Buckeye Bar Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm John.
Tonight's date is Wednesday, April 12th, 2023. After a little bit of a hiatus, we're a little bit back.
I feel like our last show might have been in February.
Yeah, we had a lot going on, and just a lot going on. So, yeah, and because the basketball Buckeyes didn't really perform this year, so we didn't have as much to go through in March. UConn did win the national title, though. For anybody that did not know, me and John in our youth did live in Connecticut for a few years, so we are.
I'm representing the Huskies.
We do appreciate the UConn basketball program, so it was a nice thing for us to see that. But anyway, on to the Buckeyes.
Do you think football. It's debatable? Is UConn the best men's basketball team in the last 25 years?
I mean, they're right there.
I mean, they got the most national titles, right?
Yeah, I mean, Duke's got a few too.
Duke's probably got 3? Carolina has 3 or 4. Yeah. Kansas probably has 2 or 3, right?
I don't know. I would argue that they're right up there, top 4.
I mean, I know they do occasionally miss a tournament too, but when they get in, they win it. So,
yeah, no, I would say that they're right there. I would say probably between them and Duke and North Carolina, that's probably your top 3 over the last, I would say, 2 decades plus a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, Kansas has got a few, I think. But they also have, I think, more first-round exits and
second-round exits for sure, man.
Than probably anybody. And I mean, Kentucky is definitely the most overrated out of the bunch. I mean, how many top classes did he have? And every year, it seemed like for a while there's like Kentucky's going to win the national title. Kentucky's going to win the national title.
He definitely had a run.
Yeah. So I mean, they're up there, but I would say that they're probably they probably have more overrated time than any of them, because I think they expected a lot more titles than they've gotten. Yeah, I would say that those are my top 3 between UConn, Duke, and North Carolina.
Is Kentucky the Ohio State of college basketball? Should we not go there on this episode?
I don't want to go there right now.
No, I mean they're not. They're not though. They're not even. I mean they don't. Ohio State at least gets close to national titles more often.
Yeah. All righty. So on to the football team. We got the spring game coming up this weekend. So we're going to talk just kind of some of our expectations about the spring game. We will do that at the back end of the show. But we're going to start off with I mean, they have gotten in the last 2 weeks 25 stars combined. I mean, they've loaded up big time on offense. Got a big defensive kid yesterday. They got a bunch of crystal balls for a few other kids coming up. I mean, does not seem like this is going to be ending here anytime soon. It seems like we could be possibly hitting a few more people over the next few days, possibly going into this weekend. But I mean, and the offensive side, so the 5-star Mylan Graham, wide receiver, QB Aaron Nolan, which is literally the best quarterback name you could ever have. So I'm really excited about that. I would love to see Aaron Nolan win us a Heisman one day. James Peoples, running back, 4-star. And then the 2 Armstrong brothers, offensive linemen, both 4-star twins out of St. Ed's. And then they added Peyton Pierce yesterday, linebacker. And that was that seems like a big Laurinaitis win, as he was the one that really built some rapport with him. So, I mean, we'll be getting in that here in a second, because it seems like James is kind of building some rapport with a lot of different players. It seems like some big time defensive guys could be looking our way. And if he starts doing that, I mean, we've talked about this in the past, but that's like promotion level to me. How was Hartline a grad assistant for a year or 2 years? I can't remember. But they need to probably promote him. If he nails a couple big time kids as a grad assistant who really can't go out to the road, I could only imagine what he could do on the road. And at that point, either the NCAA adds another coach to the coaching staffs, or Parker needs to, I don't see where else the missing link could be. Like, I mean, they seem like Knowles wants 2 guys in the back end. So, you got your 2 guys back there. You have to have a defensive line coach. I mean, I know Larry is going to be retiring eventually, but I don't see James becoming defensive line coach. I mean, I guess he could if he understood the concepts, but,
well, I think they brought in, and I can't think of it as a Allen.
Yeah, I think they
brought him in, I think, to be groomed. So
yeah, so I think they already have their idea who the next defensive line coach is. So, Parker's the only one I don't see that's really holding his weight. I don't know where, and he gets a pay raise this year, which is mind-boggling to me. I mean, I would love that job, and somehow, be I don't ever like. I hate beating him up. I don't see his name on recruits coming in, and
no, he don't land anybody.
Like, they could make James linebacker coach / special teams coach, I think. Like,
or not shit. Knowles could be defensive coordinator, special teams coach. Like, I'm sure there's something. Eliano's been a special teams coach before. I know. Well, I mean, and I know the safeties had a really rough end to last year, so I don't think Eliano graded out an A by any stretch of the imagination. But the fact that Parker Fleming's only making like $30,000 less than him or something, I'm like, you got to be shitting me.
Yeah,
I mean, it can't be. That's not even real.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I don't like beating up on Parker. If they would come here and say that, Parker is, I don't even care if they could somehow justify keeping him at his normal salary, and making him some sort of just, quality
person that doesn't take a coaching spot. Yeah, I'm cool with that. They can spend whatever money they want, but I haven't heard the guy signing a single player. So, I mean, you need James out there.
Yeah.
Assuming, he's doing a good job, which it sounds like he's working with pretty much, he's coaching the linebackers is what I've heard. So,
yeah, that's what I've heard too. And I mean, it sounds like he's really was really got the Peyton Pierce thing going. And so, I mean, like I said, to me, he was always like, it was always the one thing I always kind of kicked all their butts for over the last few years. Like, the guy's been on the radio and, Columbus. He's smart as hell. He's basically the defensive version of Brian. I mean, he's more successful than even Hartline was in the pros, but it's like, a guy that loves Ohio State football, absolutely smart as hell when it comes to his position. And, doesn't necessarily, and he has money. So he's not really going to be greedy and trying to, necessarily just market himself. I mean, he's going to put the team first, and I'm not saying that he would never eventually take a job somewhere, but I think the job's going to have to be the right fit, just like I think it is for Brian. That I mean, they're not necessarily in the market just to go take any stupid Mac job just because they want to start building a head coaching shop somewhere. So
they need to not do that.
Yeah, and I just think that I could be wrong, and we'll see how this year goes. It's just like, I really think he's the real deal. And, if it sounds like he's doing a lot of the recruiting in-house, meeting with a lot of players when they come in and, doing a lot of phone calls. So, I mean, I can only imagine what he would be like, in person out on the road. So, but let's try to, move this back into,
yes,
the guys we got, so, obviously we'll start with Pierce just because he's the only defensive player. I mean, film looks really good. I like what I see. Definitely seems like a very hard worker. Definitely seems like he's going to, he'll fit into the kind of this defensive philosophy very well, I think. And so, that's a big thing for me is that, definitely a guy that seems like he can move and he can kind of cover a lot of ground. And when you're kind of playing with just two linebackers, that's kind of an important thing. A lot is expected out of the linebackers because, there's only two of them out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I agree. But like you said, tape looks good for him. He definitely fits the philosophy for Knowles' linebacker room. And James coaching him up, he'll do great. But yeah, I definitely liked what I saw on film. Not position wise, but just remind me a lot of like Caden Curry. Like his motor is just go, 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 go. So you always love to have guys like that.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. So that was very happy with that one because I mean they've kind of been in the mix for him, but it just seemed like out of nowhere they started really getting some buzz for him, and then it just like started getting more and more serious over the last couple of weeks, and to where we got a couple of the big crystal balls, and kind of when Woodfong and Karalik and those guys start throwing in, they don't just throw their crystal balls just to throw their crystal balls around like some guys do. So I started feeling pretty confident that they were going to nail him, when they got him. Offensively, we'll start with the skill players first, starting with the receivers and with Graham and Peoples. We'll start with those two first, and then we'll move on to the quarterback and to the offensive lineman. I mean, with Mylan Graham, I wasn't really expecting much different out of that one. When I heard that it seemed like that, he was leaning Ohio State's way. I'm like, all right, they're going to seal that deal just because it just seems like that's how it's been over the last couple of years.
That's just what Heartline does.
It's like, it's weird. It's like, we're coming off as selfish that,
spoiled.
That it's just coming that, it was like a guaranteed thing. Once it seemed like it was going that way, I just had no doubt in it. It was actually probably the one I was the least surprised of when he committed. I was just like, it kind of felt like every single other person, was that Ohio State was doing very well and close, like they were the leader going into the final day. But like there was other options on those teams where I thought, okay, they could throw a little monkey wrench in here and pick one. I didn't think that coming out of Graham at all. I thought that he was going to commit, and when he did,
Brian is like Thanos. When he is after the stones, he gets them. I mean, that's just Heartline gets his receivers. And I mean, I don't want to, I'm definitely not jinxing anything, but because it's a long shot, but JoJo Trader from Miami area, he's been starting to tweet about the Buckeyes, and he's going to be in town for the spring game. So who knows? You might be able to make up some ground with him because he's high school teammates with Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah.
And he's one of the top receivers in the country also. He's actually, I think he's listed as the number one athlete in the country. So
yeah. If they somehow if they could somehow pull that, I'm always very hesitant with Florida kids just because, it doesn't, you're not, the winner out the gate doesn't necessarily, it's like the stud thoroughbred that's just all, it's all speed and no endurance.
Well, even look at Ennis. You didn't keep Ennis. I mean, he was committed to Oklahoma and then Lincoln left. So that wasn't like, their big win or anything. I mean, it obviously was their big win and they held him for a long time, but
yeah, they fought off some valiant. I mean, yeah, that's always the thing with, especially the South Florida kids. It seems like, you always got to, just because you win early doesn't mean you're going to win at the end of the day. With them. Those kids, it just seems like, they are, I don't know if it's what it is in the water down there or whatnot, but it's like, they will commit and schedule their next visit on the same day. So like
they love saying they're going to Ohio State, and then they think about the weather for a second. They're like, yeah, you know what? Let me schedule a visit to Georgia just to be safe.
Yeah, just to throw that one out there. But so yeah, Miley Graham, very happy about.
Good film, great film. I mean, he's a 5-star receiver, so not much you can't like or you don't like about him.
Yeah. I really like a lot of the stuff I'm seeing. I saw it at People's. I like a lot of the comparisons. I mean, I've heard people say that it's like, if Trey and Dobbins, were like cloned together. And I mean, that's kind of like obviously you'll see what you'll see when it happens, but
we'll see if he can break away like Trey or if he has the jump cut like Dobbins.
But I like comparisons, and when they throw comparisons out like that, he's shown a lot of good things on film. He's already a pretty well-built kid, I think, for, coming out of high school. So, I mean, a couple years in a college football program, he's going to add a lot of nice muscle to him. And I mean, he's going to be a big dude.
Yeah,
I think.
He's pretty stocky already.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they could get, maybe not so good. If he ends up, let's just throw it this way. If he ends up being not such a good Trey and not such a good Dobbins, but they're like, he has like some of their best skills from both of them, then yeah, he's going to be
he'll be
dangerous. I mean, I'll accept that any day of the week.
I'll take a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
But I'm really happy with that one. Aaron Nolan, it's like, it kind of felt like he kind of came out of nowhere.
You know how I feel about lefties. You know how I feel about lefty quarterbacks. No, I don't. No,
I'm a lefty, so I'm okay with that. I still get nervous. I mean, we'll see how. I mean, obviously, it's in this day and age, it's a lot harder to lose quarterbacks once they commit because there's just not so many out there. But there's precedent to it. I mean, they've lost quarterbacks, obviously.
Yeah.
The kid is from Georgia, which doesn't, when you got the defending two-time national champion, and I don't know how much necessarily they were in for him, but
yeah, I think they're okay on there. I think they got some pretty good quarterbacks coming in.
Okay. But it's just, there's obviously a lot of schools down there, is Nick going to come in harder, push harder for him?
He has good quarterbacks coming in. So,
yeah. So, so some of that stuff might be pretty good that, we might be able to hold anybody off. But, obviously that one's always, I'm not going to say that it's an asterisk, but, it's definitely one you got to keep an eye with. That recruiting battles are not over yet. That's people are going to come after him because, he's in the heart of the country that just, there's a lot of big time football talent right now and football schools. So, I think he's going to, especially if he looks really good in school coming up this coming year, there's going to definitely be some buzz behind him. So, definitely something that, keep an eye on.
Well, I mean, it's nice because him and Jelani Thurman were high school teammates. So at least he has, the familiarity with Ohio State with him. But yeah, and it's a battle. I mean, Miami's talked to the kid, Clemson's talked to that kid. You never know how NIL plays out. I mean, Texas school could come out of nowhere and just say, hey, we need a quarterback. Here's couple $1 million in oil money. Have fun with it. Either last year or the year before, though, I mean, he was an undefeated starter and a really competitive Georgia football, won a state title. So definitely he's got winning chops to him. Very accurate passer. Like to see that. Maybe a little bit like CJ Stroud. Not much of a runner. I think he's a little bit more athletic than Stroud, but definitely don't expect Justin Fields coming in or anything.
Yeah.
But the kid's he's a hell of a passer. Very accurate. I don't think he has quite the zip of some of the quarterbacks we've had in the past on his arm, but you don't always need it when your receivers are wide freaking open,
Yeah. And it's just another thing that we're becoming kind of spoiled with because you just know that, you're going to get a top quarterback, the high 4-star, 5-star quarterback he's going to come to Ohio State because of Ryan Day. So, Obviously now it's like, and it's just this kind of like, Ryan Day, Brian Hartline are just bringing in top quarterbacks and receivers. And then, it helps that, the top receivers like the fact that top quarterbacks are coming. The top quarterbacks like the fact that top receivers are coming. So it's a nice little cycle.
It's a beautiful cycle going on.
And then finally, St. Ed's, so the Armstrong twins are committed. And you talk about a hell of a line that line is. I mean, you got two kids coming to Ohio State, one kid going to Michigan, another lineman on their team's going to Michigan.
Yeah.
And, obviously St. Ed's is what we talked about, the college basketball teams over the last 25 years. I mean, you could very easily say the last 15 years in high school football in the state of Ohio has belonged to St. Ed's. And it kind of seems like that it just morphed from St. Ignatius over to St. Ed's.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's from, the how dominant of high schools that they've been and all the Division I titles that they've won. But
probably looking at more with that offensive line too.
Yeah, I can only imagine they got to seem like they're probably the favorite going into next year. Which wouldn't surprise me one bit. But big get. I was happy that we got them.
Well, they're doing a hell of a job recruiting right now for Ohio State too. So, I mean, you can't undersell that either. Cause I've always said that, that's a huge part of Ohio State's recruiting classes is when they get that in-state Ohio guy that becomes, Mr. Ohio State, and they're always on campus. And that's why when all these other recruits come in, they talk with them and they coordinate everything, getting those guys in there. And it seems like the Armstrong twins might be, taking the reins on that. So, I mean, that's a huge, huge deal.
Yeah. You like that. Yeah. I mean, especially, when you have big recruiting weekends and stuff like that, the kids can always
Captain Buckeye. That's what we call them.
Yeah, they can always be there. And they just make everybody feel at home. And that's something different than necessarily being a kid from last year's class that's showing you around or, whoever on the team. I mean, that's somebody that's going to actually be in your class, who's going to do the battles with you on the field. And so, that's a big deal. Luke Montgomery was that last year for us. And, it's obviously
was the year before. Sawyer was the year before that.
And it's obviously something, it's a position of concern right now because, there has been tackle issues that we really have to hit some big home runs over the next couple classes. And home runs is not necessarily, going out and trying to get the 5-star kid out of Texas or the 5-star kid out of Florida, There's some good.
You can't miss on projects.
Yeah, you can't miss on projects, but there's usually some good 4-star kids in Ohio that are in, those shouldn't be projects. So, go get them. And it seems like, we've missed on a couple here and there throughout the years. Like, it seems like that maybe they've kind of been out of sight, out of mind and stuff like that. I mean, these are the kids, they understand your backyard. They understand Ohio football. They play this every day, every weekend. They play in the type of conditions, and these aren't bad kids, and these are kids that, with the proper coaching and the proper development, they could be superstars and go play in the NFL. This is a part of the country where sometimes I think offensive line recruiting comes off a little harder than it necessarily should for them.
Yeah.
And it's like, I understand if you want to go get a big time kid from, a Southern school or whatever, you want to circle a couple on there that we're going to go all in and fine. That's great. But go get your 3 that are in Ohio. Go get the number 1, 2, and 3 kids that are Ohio offensive linemen. Get those kids first because they're going to commit right away. And you almost should be bringing in a minimum of 5 offensive linemen per class anyway. So,
Right. I mean, you definitely, you got to focus on your best players and, kids that play spring ball and that are just developed and ready to go a little bit further ahead. But like you said, I mean, you got all the way from, Illinois to Pennsylvania, you got to reach in all those areas. And I know some of them are harder than others because I'm sure most, Pennsylvania kids, Penn State can keep home, but you got good talent. You got big kids. You can go out to Wisconsin if you want to. Things are close. And Wisconsin. Hell, now with Luke, that might be a hard get to, even though that was always a hard get to. I mean, the fact that we got Hinsman out of there, that was highway robbery. So, yeah, that might not happen again. But there's still, there's kids in Big Ten country that you can get that can become your line, that you can get them, coached up. Fry will do a good job. But of course, you still want to aim for the fences with those 5-star kids, too.
You definitely do. It's just my only concern is just sometimes seems like that they've put you could go all in on those big time kids and still, like, to me, a kid from Indiana, if Ohio State comes in, the kid's 4-star, he's, farmer boy, whatever, John Deere here. And he's, Ohio State offer is going to go big deal for him. And that's the same in Ohio. And there's all these kids all over Ohio that can do that. Like, I don't even know if you necessarily have to leave Ohio. There are plenty of 4-star offensive linemen in Ohio that I think can play football for Ohio State.
Aim small, miss small, and I think that's what Fry's doing this cycle, because he kind of came in like he had to try to clean up for Stud, and it was a very hard task that first cycle for him. So I think he's like, you know what? I got to build my numbers. I can get good quality people. I just got to focus on them. I got to treat those kids right. Stud, I think his issue was, and I'm not going to say I know 100%, but I think his problem was he hated recruiting, and he put all his eggs in the basket of the national kids, but he never freaking talked to them. And there was such high competition that all the local kids got pissed off that he never even addressed them,
Yeah. And it just seems like some of those kids, it just doesn't take that much to get them. No. And like I said, there is room for 5 to 6 offensive linemen in every class. And it's such a high turnover position because kids don't make it and all that stuff that you should not be going into any season not thinking, in my opinion, that 5 shouldn't be your mag.
Right.
That it should be your getting. So there has to be 2 to 3 kids and on the state of Ohio that you can just be like, that could be your first 3 kids right out of the gate. Yeah. It's not and it doesn't affect any of the other stuff. You could still throw in offers to the 5 best tackles in the country, thinking that you might get one of them. But if you can get those 3 kids, you at least got somebody coming in that are good. They understand Ohio State, and they're going to play their asses off for Ohio State. So, that's their school. And then you fill in with the national kids. It kind of seems like, the philosophy was we're going to try to get the national kids, and then we'll fill in with the Ohio kids. Yeah,
we'll go make them an offer at the end if we don't, fill in what we can. And it just, I like Fry's approach this year, and that might just build rapport, develop guys and go from there. But I still think, I think his strategy is better than Stud getting 3-star projects at the end of it all. Where these guys, these guys might be high 3 stars, 4 stars, whatever. They're 4 stars, the Twins. But I think they're well ahead of, and I don't, I'm not trying to bash any kids or anything, but there's a couple in a class that Stud had to fill with Ohio lower rated kids to make up a class because he struck out so much that it was just a lot of projects and they haven't really seen the field yet.
Yeah. And, and the one thing about these two is, they come from a well-coached team. St. Ed's is very well coached. So, I know that they're going to be, they obviously still have a lot to prove, but I think that they're going to have a good head on their shoulders coming into the program. So, I'm excited about that. I definitely like what Fry did here and got him right out of the gate. And, this was a big get both of them. So, I was happy to see that.
Sure.
All right. So, that's pretty much the commitments. We didn't get anybody new today. Does seem like we might hit a couple more kids over the next few days. But we'll talk about that in our after spring game show. When we gets to it, if we get a couple kids. All right, it's a spring game. It's national
weird this year.
It's a state holiday in the state of Ohio. No, it does kind of feel weird.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. To me, we found out today, Devin Brown's not going to play, which that was the whole thing. If people were looking forward to who's going to look better, McCord or Brown? Because you figure, with all the running backs beat to death, that they were going to have to throw the ball a lot. So now, it's going to be the transfer from Oregon State and McCord doing all the heavy lifting.
You kind of just put, obviously the black shirt's going to be on McCord. You just have him be the quarterback of both teams. Because
what's his face isn't there yet, right? Keenholz?
No, I don't think
he's coming in. So. I think he's coming in the fall. I could be wrong. I don't think he's there yet, though. No, because
I thought he's
I think he played spring sports and he wanted to finish up with that. So yeah, McCord just throws to everybody, but I am looking forward to young receivers being out there. I don't think there's much of a need to have Marv doing too much out there. What's the point of the risk? Guy knows everything.
At this point, I would I hate saying this, and I know as a fan, yeah, I'd love to see Marv out there, but as also a fan, I would like to see Marv not be out there. Yeah. So I think there's enough young receivers on the team that if Marv and Abuka were out there, I think I'd be okay with that. And possibly Fleming too. I don't care. I think we've seen everything that they could do. They're not going to making a couple big catches in a spring game doesn't translate to the regular season.
Well, it's not worth the risk either.
Yeah. So yeah, I would like to see maybe some of the other guys out there. Let's see what Ballard can do.
We have a whole list of 2022 kids that didn't even play last year. So let those kids see the field and see what they can do. I'm excited to see Carnell Tate, Jelani Thurman, though.
You've heard a lot from both of them.
Rogers.
Yeah, you've heard a lot about both of them, about both Tate and Thurman. So yeah, I want to see what they look like.
They're big dudes too already. I want to see the offensive line at least look competent against the defensive line. I'm a little scared that that's going to look kind of ugly.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
We know a big time offensive tackle from Texas A&M hit the portal, or is getting ready to hit the portal. Either hit it today or is hitting it tomorrow. If I was Ohio State, I would throw a word out to him not to make any decisions until after Saturday.
I think Saturday is the first day that you can get into the portal.
Okay, so they shouldn't bother us then. Yeah, I would. Depending on what Saturday looks like at the offensive tackles, I would have a very, very strong conversation possibly with him. His name escapes me right now. But I know that he
is it Michael Wickoff. It's Wickoff is the last name. I can't think of his first name.
I think that he could be he's a known guy. He's played. He could really possibly help us, if anything, on depth. If there's definitely seems like there's a hole at one of the tackle positions, if not both the tackle positions, might have to really kind of throw that in there because, they don't have necessarily a tough schedule early on in the season that I'm too worried about it, and they could survive a Notre Dame loss, as Virginia Tech. And that's just my opinion on that. If it would happen, they could survive it. But the problem is they got a tough schedule in the conference. Obviously you got your teams that you're playing against. And you haven't been to Madison, it feels like, in 100 years. So Luke is there now.
It's been a minute. They're rebuilding, but still it's Madison.
I don't like that. And it just feels like a night game. And
it's later on in the year, isn't it?
Yeah, it just feels like a night game. It just feels like ESPN or Fox. It wouldn't be Fox, but and I don't know.
You're in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, you're going to be at Ann Arbor. I would feel more confident by that point that the offensive line should be ready to go. But it's a concern. So I definitely want to see what the tackles look like. I think we'll be fine in the interior. I don't know how the health is of everybody right now, but I'm not really too concerned about that. We're pretty experienced up the middle, even with the new center, in my opinion. the tackles are a little worrisome, and it just does. We don't, and not only there's just a lot of green players there, we don't have a lot of them, and it just seems like it's not like they have 5 guys where they're just going to keep plugging and playing until they find the right 2. It just seems like we don't have a lot of options.
Right. No, I agree with that. So, little worried to see what that looks like. But we'll see. We'll see how it is. I don't know. I mean, health. Like I don't know who's healthy. I don't know who's playing. I want to see a lot of Sonny Styles. I think he can make some plays out there.
Yeah, I'm ready to see them.
Can I just say, though, I'm a little frustrated, like them saying, hey, we got to find ways to get Sonny on the field. We want him to do, be out there for things that he's going to be great at, just not good at a little bit of everything. You want to know how to get him on the field, put him on the freaking field, man. Like, yeah, if he's your best playmaker, let him be on the field. It doesn't matter if he's great in every situation or not. I hate hearing stuff like that. I understand you got a lot of players and a lot of, egos out there, but you got to get your 5-star safety out there.
They do got a lot of returning players, and honestly, I don't know if they really know yet where they really feel comfortable putting him. Like, he's just such a big guy. I mean, is he a linebacker? Is he a safety?
He can still move, though. I mean, he's a safety.
Yeah. I think they'll get him out there. It's kind of, I think that it just kind of seems like that they're slow playing him a little. That but I definitely think like they'll get him out there. It's the same thing with CJ Hicks, and I know you got guys coming back, and those guys were productive, but they got to get him on the field too. And so it's just a lot of guys have to see the field, and I was surprised as many guys came back as did. And, that kind of in a lot of ways it's a good problem to have, but it's also in a lot of ways that it just creates a log jam for players that it seems like they are ready to make their move, and it always puts coaches in a weird position. And I know as fans, like, we can say, like, it's very easy to go on Twitter and be like, what has Steel Chambers did for us lately? Put CJ Hicks on the field, or what's this guy done? And it's like, I mean, they're good players too, and it's like, so, and it's kind of like it puts them in a weird position to be like, I know it's easy to say, well, the best player plays, but if the best player and the second best player are tied, that are close, then what do you go with? Do you go with the young guy because he's got more years on the field, or do you go with the veteran that's been out there for a long time? And so it's always a weird position for coaches. And, and I know I'm going to be on Twitter too, just like everybody else, complaining when, Sonny Styles makes a big hit this year, CJ Hicks makes a big stick this year. And I'm just like, why aren't these guys on the field more? Like, right. There are good guys in front of them too. So it's a weird thing. And I definitely it's not an envious job to have as a coach to be like, it's very easy for a fan to say, let the best player play. You're also not watching them every day in practice, and, who is the best player showing out every day.
Right. No, I get that totally.
Yeah. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to see what, I really like, kind of just off the same thing with what we just said about the offensive tackles, I think Larry and Knowles, they need to have the defensive ends just go at these guys, because, I think we need to have a lot of questions answered really quick. Yeah. You have this guy, this possible transfer out there. This might be a spot that you might actually be able to pull him in on and be like, yeah, you could cut. This might be an intriguing spot for him if he thinks he can come start here. So, you got to kind of see what you got. So, I would let, Tuamala and Jack Sawyer go to town. And,
Kenyatta Jackson, Abor, just Curry, let them all go. Go. I completely agree with you.
Don't put McCourt on his butt, but, you just touch him. Mm-hmm. But, let's see what the tackles can do. And I would speed rush them to death and bull rush them and everything else. And let's see what they can handle. And I think that's the way I would approach this. I would really they usually don't do a lot of exotic blitzes and stuff like that, defensively in these type of games. But, let you don't need to be doing a bunch of exotic stuff. Let the defensive line, there's a lot of talent there. Let them go at these guys and, work out them and see what where they're at. And I think that would be the appropriate way to handle that situation.
No, I agree fully with that.
Yeah. And then, linebackers, like I said, it's kind of the same thing in offense. I don't need to see a lot of Steele and a lot of Tommy. I want to see Hicks out there. I want to see some of these other guys out there.
Gabe Powers, Reed Carrico. I want to
see, and the safeties. I want to see Kai out there. I want to see Sonny out there. I want to see, I mean, I want to see Burke. I want to see some of those guys too. But I also, want to see why is his name escaping me right now? The one that was injured last year. I can't think of it.
Jordan Hancock.
Hancock, yes. I want to see him. So I want to see some of these guys to see how they look. So, I'm okay with the guys that have played a lot, either not playing or, kind of, you go out there to get a round of applause from everybody out on the first series and move them on out of here. It's a spring game. So, I want to see what some of these other guys look like.
I want to see the kid from Ole Miss. Wasn't Davison Igwinosin?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you say that today that he's changed the culture of that room or something about he's just changed that room completely. So I definitely want to see that guy out there.
It's started to kind of feel like that he's already taken one of the starter positions. So,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, from everything you've seen and heard, Hancock and Burke have had good springs. I mean, they said Burke's had a great spring. So,
yeah.
It could be a 3-person starting room, And I don't know. I mean, he's a big guy.
I don't like a lot of rotation on the back end of the defenses, but there's no reason why at linebacker you shouldn't be able to have 3 starting linebackers. I mean, you might have to play 3 linebackers at once anyway, so you have to have 3 guys ready. So, get Hicks ready to kind of rotate with both the Tommy and with Steele, and get him in there at times. You don't have to do a 5-person rotation. A 3-person rotation is fine at linebacker. 3-person rotation is fine at quarterback. That doesn't take away a lot of reps from a lot of the corner. And
you don't need 3 safeties out there. You can have 3 corners out there.
You can. And probably in situations they might. You never know. That was always kind of the thing that they can kind of do different things with that setup.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, a lot of intrigue. I mean, it's a spring game. I'm always looking forward to them. I'm kind of bored with it after 30 minutes. That's kind of always.
At least they end quickly though. They got the running clock and everything, so they go very fast.
Yes, but I'm looking forward to it. I want to see some of these newer kids, and just to kind of see where it's at. And, it just kind of helps me, after kind of just how sometimes long winter can be. And, we had some really nice weather this week. Kind of feels like the weather's starting to turn.
Yeah.
So it just kind of feels like in a good position of having the spring game, and kind of gets you ready for summer. And so I'm looking forward to it. Just, like I said, I look forward to it's starting, and I'm usually done with it pretty quick, but it's just nice to see football again.
No, I totally agree with you.
All right. Anything else you want to hit tonight before we call it a night?
Nope. I mean, we'll touch base next week, talk about the spring game, and if any concerns are really there or not, and go from there, man.
Yeah, sounds good. All righty. Let's call it a night.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for stopping out tonight to the Buckeye Bar. I'm John.
And I'm Mike.
OH.
IO.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's Buckeye Bar Guys on Buckeye Bar Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that all notifications bell so you see when new content is added. And please remember to like and share so we can grow our audience. Don't be afraid to comment. We want to know what you're thinking, and we want to know what content to add for you guys. OH.
IO.